So we were discussing post-colonialism. So in that we are continuing the dictation from the earlier class. Full stop. Next para. This can be seen. This can be seen by the various features. This can be seen by the various features of the Indian Constitution. Of the Indian Constitution. Number one, presence of draconian laws. Presence of draconian laws. Draconian. DROCIACAN. COCIAN. Draconian. I think this could be the spelling. Draconian. Draconian means these act basically violates our fundamental right. We will discuss them when we will be discussing fundamental right. Right now, just note that they are a very good example that India is a overdeveloped state or India is a post-colonial society. Presence of draconian laws like sedition. Presence of draconian law like sedition. Within bracket, section 124A. 124A. This law was made by Britishers. लिखना नहीं ना बता रहा हूँ. This law was made by. तो लिख लिया, चलो लिख लो फिर. Please write down the entire line. This law was made by. This law was made by Britishers to crush the nationalist movement in India. Crush the nationalist movement in India. Full stop. Now, nationalist movement in India. Full stop. Now the same act. Is being used. To suppress dissent. Also, Gayatri, basically, I think you were not in the previous class. We are just doing the basics. We are understanding terms, their meanings. We haven't started polity yet. We will start, I believe, from today's class itself. Okay, next point. Presence of institutions. Presence of institutions like the institution of governor. Like the institution of governor. The current governor model is, लिखना नहीं बता रहा हूँ. The current governor model is basically the model we had during British times. British time, the governor used to be appointed by the viceroy and some governor were appointed by the queen itself. The logic was to control the people. Governor were too much powerful. I believe you will read in modern history, Government of India Act 1919, in which there were different kind of subjects, transfer subject, reserve subjects. So these subjects basically classified. The reserve subject were those which were crucial for the security of the state, which gave most of the power to the Britishers. They never gave true democracy to us. Okay, we had to snatch it. Okay, next, please write down the reason for being. You're heading it, the subheading. The reason for being a post-colonial society. The reason for being post-colonial society slash post-colonial society slash overdeveloped state. Post-colonial society slash overdeveloped state. Write down para. Almost all the principles that we study like secularism evolved in the Western world. Like secularism evolved in the Western world full stop. Later on they were imported in the East. Later on they were imported in the East, full stop. That is why there is a lot of confusion. That is why there is a lot of confusion over the true meaning. There is a lot of confusion over the true meaning of these terms. True meaning of these terms. Okay, now we will understand the word majority. Basically, if you look, the democracy in principle, or shall I say the real democracy. Priyanka is online now. Priyanka is online. The class was at 4:30. Why you were so late? Anyway, a majority. Basically, how the democracy function. I told you, the people, you choose your MPs and MLAs. They in turn form the government. To do this, these MPs and MLAs promises you things. They promises you things ki I will do this, I will do that. Based on that, you select one particular individual to represent you. But what is the problem? The problem is, what is the problem? The problem is you. In this, they should represent 100% of the people. But what we have the problem is we cannot make everyone convinced on one policy. Say, for example, government decides to ban hijab. You cannot make everyone to believe on that. There will be few people who will basically oppose that move. Any policy you can think of, there is no 100% support. If we go for consensus-based kind of democracy, called as direct democracy, in that the problem is it will be unfunctional kind of thing. It will not function properly. Logic is clear, because not everyone will believe in the policy. So for that, we have evolved a mechanism. The mechanism is majority. So we assume, for example, there are different kind of majority we will look. For example, there is a bill to ban hijab, say for example. If even 50% and more, 50% and more, if more than 50% or more people supports the hijab ban, then it will be assumed that 100% support the hijab ban. Logic is clear? The logic is we cannot make everyone to accept a policy. So we have evolved a second best. Second best is majority. In that, for example, hijab ban is supported by more than 50. We will assume that 100% of the population supports the hijab ban. Point is clear? To basically make democracy functional. Otherwise, we will never be able to make anything. Logic is clear? Now, constitution provides different kind of majorities for different kind of works. There are different kind of majorities. One we all know is simple majority. What do we have in simple majority is simply more than 50% of present and voting. Present and voting means, say for example, a house is of 500 people. So to pass a bill by simple majority, how many votes I want? Yes, good evening, Priyanka. 250 what? 50%, more than 50%. We want 250 plus 1. More than 50. If there is 50, then we will understand that's a case of tie. In tie, the speaker, the presiding officer votes. That's a different thing. We will understand later. But principle is clear that we have majority because we cannot have consensus on everything. So second best mechanism is majority. Among them, the first one is simple. More than 50% present in voting. Next is absolute. Absolute basically means, again, more than 50%. But here, more than 50%, but here we had present and voting. But here will be total strength. We will understand by an example the difference between the all. but this much is clear. Present and voting and total sense. Say for example, I have a house with a 500 MPs. I brings a bill. That bill has to be passed by 50%. That bill has to be passed by simple majority. Case number 1. So how many votes I want? 251. But say for example, they at that day in the house on, is it visible? For example, at that day in the house, there were only 200 people. So how many majorities required? 101. So in both cases, simple majority is present and voting. If 500 represent, 251. 200 represent, 101. Now, if a bill has to be passed by absolute majority, for that, ek minute, I'm keep on saying the word bill. Everyone understand this word bill? Bill. What do you understand by bill? Feel free to say anything. Any idea? What do you understand? Of course, you must understand something by bill. What is bill? The restaurant bill, right? Yeah, you people have taken the classes, na? Unhe bolne na? Yes. Uske liye basically you can say it's a proposal for an act. It's a proposal. Once this proposal is accepted, it becomes an act, a law. So basically, bill is a proposal. Proposal for an act. Okay? So come back to the question. So we have 500 people. The strength of the house is 500. The bill has to be passed by absolute majority. So if I assume all people are present, then how many votes are required? 251. Imagine if 200 people are present in the house, then how many votes are required? 251. Because it's the total strength of the house, and the total strength is 500. So it does not matter how many people are present. You have to have 251. But at that day, the number of people in the house is 200. So this bill will never pass. This bill may pass tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, but that day it will not pass. Because 251 is the requirement, but there are only 200 people. Now, why we have done this kind of thing? So to ensure that the constitution is amended, of course, we have to amend the constitution. It was adopted in 1950. The problem is, it is a law of 1950. We live in 2022. So it's a long time. In this long time, a lot of things have happened. At that point of time, nobody imagined that we will have Google kind of services. Nobody imagined that the government can keep an eye on every individual citizen. They did not know at that point of time. So they must have written a constitution based on the technology of that time. But now the technology has evolved. That's why we have to keep amending the constitution so that the old paper may become relevant today. This much is clear. That's why we need amendment. But in amendment process, we have different kind of amendments. Amendments by different majority. The logic is we want to restrict the power of amendment. If there is a very general bill that does not do much, so we will have simple majority. If there is a special bill in which we want at least, if for example, it restricts your fundamental rights. Say for example, tomorrow government decide whosoever slangs Modi ji will be given death penalty. If they may decide, so we will have such kind of majority that the government is forced to take opposition on board. Logic is clear. Why we have stricter majorities? Another majority we have is special. The special majority is 2/3 of present and voting. 2/3 of present and voting. Let's take again this case. 500 people is the strength of the house. At that day, let's assume all were present. So I have to pass a bill by special majority. It means how many vote I require? 300 and जो भी है. Anyway, more than 2/3. More than 2/3. इसे for ease of calculation 300 कर लेते हैं. 300 में तो सब बता देंगे how many votes are required. How many votes are required to pass a bill by special majority which has 300 members in the house? 201. One vote is extra required. So this case, this much is clear. present and voting. If, for example, 300 is the strength of the house and 30 are present, then how many votes we require for simple majority? 21. Clear? Present and voting. Strength of the house has nothing to do with it. Okay? Last one is effective. Last one is effective majority. Now what is this? It is more than 50%. Yes, it is more than 50% of total strength minus vacancies. Vacancies means, for example, some MP died, some MP was disqualified. So that means vacancy. Vacancy does not mean absence. If you are absent, then it basically means you are the member of the house. You're still the member of the house. You have not come to the house at that day. Vacancy means you are no longer a member of the house. That seat is vacant. For example, that MP died or disqualified or whatever may be the case. But that seat is vacant. In that, we need effective majority. This is used, for example, removal of speaker, the presiding officer in Lok Sabha. So I have to remove the speaker. The member of the house, let's assume, is again 500 kar lete hain. The member of the house, total members are 500. Total member in the house are 500. We require more than 50% of total strength minus vacancies. Say, for example, there are 50 vacancies. Matlab, 50 people have died or whatever may be the case. There is nobody there. Those seats are vacant basically. So, to effective strength, what is the effective strength of the house? See, majority is different. What is the effective strength of the house? It is total strength minus vacancies. So, it will be 450. Now I want 50, more than 50% of 450. That is 226. Clear? So these are four kind of majority used in the constitution for different purposes. For most of the bills are simple. Some bills require absolute. Some amendment in constitution. We will discuss that in detail. Article 368. That article requires amendment under special majority. And effective majority, I told you, removal of speaker and all. Is it clear? These are different kind of majority. This much is clear. Because we want effective majority is the more than 50% of effective strength. The effective strength is total strength minus vacancies. The people who are no longer the member of the house. Vacancy means they are no longer the member. Absent simply means you have not come to the office. You are the member, you have not come to the office.
What if the vacancies then someone comes, so it will reduce until like 51 whatever?
No, why they will come? Vacancy means there is no seat. You cannot remember this. In parliament, nobody who is not an MP or MLA cannot enter. Okay? You will be behind bars for doing that. Okay? Sorry? Which? Termination of who? MP, of course, if they are terminated, there could be numerous reasons for vacancy. They are maybe disqualified, maybe terminated, or maybe, for example, died or may resigned, whatever may be the case. The logic is they are no longer the member of parliament. And nobody, remember this, nobody except MP can sit in the house. That's why we have gallery. Have you ever seen the debates of Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha? Any debate? Dekha hai? So in that you have seen the speaker in between, there is a speaker. Here, the house is like this. The speaker is here. Here, the benches. Here, at this places, there are galleries. The people who are visitors sit there. Nobody can sit in this house if they are not members. Nobody. Anyway, if you sit there, what will happen? You will be put in contempt of parliament. Then you will be behind bar. And the power is, we will understand, the power of contempt is so vast that once upon a time, the Pradhan Mantri, Indira Gandhi, was put behind bars for contempt of parliament. Everyone is powerful. The logic is depending upon where you stand. If you, अब basically emergency के time का scene था. तो इस चक्कर में basically what was the logic is, if you are in a court, the judge is the most powerful person. In front of him, the president of India, prime minister of India, nobody is supreme. He is supreme. When you are outside of the court premises, the government becomes supreme. The prime minister and president have powerful. If you are in the house, then only the speaker is powerful. Everyone, prime minister, president is not present in the house. Everyone is just a common MP. The speaker wants, they can even terminate a prime minister's membership, and automatically the prime minister will lose the prime ministership if they want. That much is powerful, the speaker. Is it clear? Everyone is powerful at different point of time. These majorities are clear. Now there is a variation in spatial majority. There is one variation. Normal chaos mein you require a special majority by 2/3 of present and voting. But there are special bills. There are some special bills in which the interest of states is involved. Constitution, we basically understand Constitution of India. Do we understand what is Constitution of India? Before majority, what is Constitution? What do you people understand by Constitution of India? We have always hear Constitution. Any idea what is Constitution of India?
The process of enacting laws in a particular.
Process, nah, it divides power, it makes everything. The process nahi hai. Other people, any idea? हम हर वक्त सुनते ना, we always hear people online. You are also part of the class. Don't be shy. You can answer. Basic law, basically. Basic law of the land. So there are various views of Constitution, but the view we will take is Constitution is a contract. Among who? Among us. No, state nahi. State is not the party of the contract. State is the outcome. It is nahi, government is the outcome. It is a contract between us people. We will study the preamble. The first line of the preamble is we the people of India. Why we have used this line, we the people of India? That means that the entire constitution that we have is a contract between us all. It is supposed, basically it's a, you can say, political theory that all of us people sat together, discussed and debate, and then we enacted some laws that this is how we want us to be governed. And for that, we have created an agency by the name of government, legislature, judiciary. So, Constitution is a contract among us, and the outcome of the contract is state. State is the outcome of the contract. Everything is established by the Constitution, executive, legislature, judiciary, and the Constitution is made by us people. So the hierarchy, if you look, basically we the people are at the top. We the people chose few people to form something called as Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly means an assembly of the people to make the constitution. Constituent Assembly. It is not parliament. That's a different thing. We will understand a doctrine called basic structure. Then we will understand the difference between Constituent Assembly and Parliament. Parliament is made by the Constitution. Constituent Assembly made the Constitution. So it's supreme. So we the people chose a Constituent Assembly. This Constituent Assembly made a constitution, which is basically nothing more than a contract. These people we chose. These people made a contract among themselves, and it is assumed that they made this contract on our behalf. That's why the first line of the preamble is we the people. And this constitution ultimately made everything we know: legislature, executive, and judiciary. That's why you have heard every neta, what they call Janta Janardhan. They always say, though they do not respect the Janta, but they always say this, Janta Janardhan. Why they say this? Because in a democracy, who is at the top? We the people. Philosophically speaking. In real life, they are at the top. Of course, who gets the Z class security? They get the Z class security. Okay, they always get 24 hours. If you know that in every prime minister, chief minister house, there is 24-hour presence of an ambulance with a proper doctor and staff. For one person, there is a proper ambulance with a staff. How many individual citizens of India get that? Okay, so that's a philosophy. Is this real life is inverted? Anyway, so is it clear to everyone? Constitution is a contract. Now it's a contract. It was a contract entered by the people in 1950. We live in 2022. Now, a contract entered in 1950 may not be valid today. So for that, these people, the Constituent Assembly people, they have basically put amendment procedures. One of them is Article 368. The thing that we talked about, that is special majority. In this, the special cases, special majority plus at least more than 50% of state must give a consent. That's a special case. There are two kind of, let me repeat again, there are two kind of ways to amend the constitution. One is by special majority. The other way is special majority plus 50% of the state must give a consent to the amendment. Then only it is believed that constitution is amended. What could be that case? Generally speaking, any bill, any policy, anything in which the interests of states are involved. Example, GST. When GST bill was brought, it was passed by the houses. When GST bill was brought, for example, it will go to Lok Sabha, the lower house of the parliament, known as the House of People, or in Hindi, Lok Sabha. This people will pass the bill, and they will pass the bill by special majority. That is 2/3 of present and voting. Then that will go to next house, Rajya Sabha, also known as the Council of States. It's a council of state. These are our representative. The people in Rajya Sabha are the representative of the states. The states MLA basically. We will understand that later. So they will also pass the bill by. After this normal course, in normal course, the bill goes from Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, या Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, whatever may be the case, to President. But in this case, because this bill involves the interest of the states also, so this bill after this point will go to whom? State governments. It will go to state legislative assemblies. And at least 50% of the states, state legislative assembly must pass that bill in their legislature by a simple majority. We understand simple majority? More than 50% of present and voting. Then it will go to president. Then the president will sign the bill. The bill will become act. As soon as the president signs it, it becomes act. And when that act is notified in the Gazette of India, then only it is implemented. Gazette of India is like the newspaper of the government. Government of India publishes a newspaper by the name of Gazette of India. What is the logic of Gazette of India? Can you drive the logic? Drive it from democracy. Why the government has to tell to the people what I do? Why the government has to tell to the people that what the government is doing in its life?
To know what government is doing.
Huh?
To know that, make them know what government is doing for them.
But why? Why government is under compulsion to make you? They could have passed this act. Why to notify in Gazette? Why to tell the people I have brought this act and your liberties are gone? Why? Yes, exactly. Because we in a democracy. In democracy, who was at the top? We the people. This point is very compulsory. If the government does not do this point, then the bill cannot be enforced in India. Because by doing this, it tells the people, I have done this. Now you people can evaluate it. If you don't like the bill, you can do dharna, protest, whatever may be the case. And if you want to take legal recourse, you can go to judiciary. Please analyze this bill. This bill is wrong. That's why this is the most important part. Let's take an example. There is an act called Whistleblower Protection Act. You were saying something? There was an act called Whistleblower Protection Act. It was passed in 2014. Whistleblower, you understand the word whistleblower? Any idea? सिटी बजाने वाला, और लौंडे छेड़ते हैं ना यहाँ पे लड़कियों को. हाँ, whistleblower basically anti-corruption. If you are a common citizen working somewhere, if you are working in a government organization and you come across some wrongdoing, then whistleblowing. Have you seen in the sports when somebody do something wrong, the referee blow the whistles, कि भाई stop, this is wrong. Same logic is here. So basically, when some corrupt event are happening, then you can come to the people, come and tell them that something bad is happening, please do something. So that is called whistleblower. That is very important tool for corruption handling. Because today what happens is people are scared. Even if you're an IAS officer, you will be scared, because IAS officer being an IAS officer, you are protected from government action, but you're not protected from the truck. You know, that's the problem. It has happened a lot of people. There are a lot of people who expose corruption. They were killed basically by this manner only. The one name I'm unable to forget. He was an IES officer, Engineering Services officer. He was killed by sand mafia basically because he exposed the corruption. And there was another case of, I think, Durga Shakti Nagpal, I believe. She had to face the penalties. All these cases are good case studies. वो ethics में होंगे, that's a different thing. But the logic here is that bill is a very important bill. If you want to fight corruption, of course, you will come forward when you have assurance by the government that you are protected, your family is protected. You have to have an assurance, then you can tell. That's a very important. It's a weak bill, but important. Governance may, it will be taught in detail, and ethics as well. So that's why that bill has not been notified in the Gazette. So this is an act, Whistleblower Protection Act 2014. 8 years back it was made. In 2014, when we got independence, you know all that. So when we got independence in 2014, we enacted that act, but that act is still not enforced. It's an example. Is it clear? The process is clear? सारे बिल, ये तो मैं नॉर्मल बताया, कोई भी बिल हो, कोई सरकार कोई भी काम करती है ना, तो वो गजट में लिखती है. नहीं, स्टेट पे नहीं जाएंगे. अच्छा, केवल स्टेट वाले केस में यहाँ पे सिर्फ वो बिल जाएंगे जिनमें स्टेट का इंटरेस्ट इन्वॉल्व है. जैसे जीएसटी में स्टेट्स के टैक्स छीने गए थे, तो स्टेट के पास जाएगा, नहीं तो नहीं जाएगा.
Kind of quick recap to this, very quick recap.
ज्यादा हो गया लगता है. तो ओके, लेट्स एक बार करते हैं, दोबारा से मेजॉरिटी देखते हैं. लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द quick recap. Okay, so that we have a constitution. Constitution is basically made by Constituent Assembly. We chose the Constituent Assembly. They made the constitution. The constitution made the government, executive and legislature. Okay. Now the constitution was made in 1950. So we have to update it the way you update your notes by current event. So we have to update by current event. For that, the constitution provides different kind of mechanisms. Some provision of the constitution can be amended by simple majority, that is more than 50% of present and voting. Some can be modified by absolute majority, that is more than 50% total strength. Some can be modified by special majority, that is more than 2/3 of present and voting. Isko please forget this part. Some can be modified by effective majority, that is more than 50% of total strength minus vacancies. Out of these are various kind of bills. We will do all kind of bills and we will understand what kind of majority is required. And why majority? Because consensus cannot be there. In a democracy, consensus means death of democracy. It will never function. So we have majority principle. So in this, there's a special case of special majority, in which the bill has to be passed by special majority plus more than 50% of the state. Only that bill. And that bill will be the in which the interest of state is involved. Okay? Is it clear? Please write down. Again, if there is a confusion, we can go ahead. Okay? Please write down. The heading is majorities. Majorities. Within this, write down. The Constitution. The Constitution is basically assumed. The Constitution is basically assumed as a contract between is basically assumed as a contract between the people, as a contract between the people to establish state, to establish state, full stop. It has to be amended. It has to be amended to update. It has to be amended to update the provisions, to update the provisions as per the requirement, as per the requirement of the time. Full stop. For this purpose, for this purpose, the Constitution provides, for this purpose, the Constitution provides various types of amendments, various types of amendments depending upon the majority to be used, depending upon the majority to be used. Full stop. Now please draw this.
Only two-thirds of this,
Which?
at least 25 or 500. No?
What?
Third of 500, like almost 500.
NIP isn't in voting. So not total strength. Yes. क्या impeachment वाला? प्रेसिडेंट का स्पेशल केस है. अभी इस केस में तो बच्चों को प्रॉब्लम होगी. रुक जाओ. वो डिपेंड करता है ना कि बच्चों को उस वक्त कितना समझ में आया. उस हिसाब से कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी बढ़ाई जाती है. Of course, when we did ना Article 2 and 3 उसमें हमने पढ़ा था सिंपल मेजोरिटी से अमेंड होता है. फिर 368 में स्पेशल मेजोरिटी लगती है, प्लस एब्सोल्यूट लगती है, स्पीकर को हटाने में इफेक्टिव लगती है. इट इज इन द नोट्स. इसमें डाउट है. वो हर जगह पे अलग अलग मेजोरिटीज है. वी हैव टू डॉट लर्न दैट. बट कुछ बेसिक प्रिंसिपल्स वी कैन अराइव. जैसे हमने एक बोला ना, जहां भी स्टेट का इंटरेस्ट इन्वॉल्व हो तो समझ लो ये वाली मेजोरिटी लगेगी. स्टेट्स का इंटरेस्ट कहीं पे स्पेशल प्लस 50% ऑफ द स्टेट्स. और जहाँ पे बड़ी कोई बहुत बड़ी बात है अमेंडमेंट की, जैसे मान लीजिए फंडामेंटल राइट को रेस्ट्रिक्ट करना है तो स्पेशल मेजोरिटी. इट्स अ बिग थिंग. अब कोई नॉर्मल छोटी मोटी बात है तो सिंपल मेजोरिटी. दैट्स द लॉजिक. इफ समथिंग इज वेरी सिंपल ऑर्डिनरी. हाँ, स्पेशल में देयर टू. वन इज स्पेशल ओनली 2/3 present in voting, other is special plus 50% of this.
That is both for which?
If states interest are involved, then only 50% of the state. If state interest is not involved, then only special. All these majorities are clear. So in that she has named another majority is very special majority that we have is 2/3 of total strength. This is used only at one place in the entire constitution, for removal of president, impeachment. Except for president, it is not used anywhere in the constitution. That is 2/3 of total strength. Who? Chief Justice में remove होता है. Nobody is impeached. The word impeachment. But why we use the word impeachment only for president and not anyone else? Or wrongfully, a lot of places you will hear impeachment of judges. That's a wrong term. It's a removal of judges. Judges cannot be impeached. They have to be removed. They are removed by the order of the president. The reason is because president is the supreme body. We will study union executive. There we will study that constitution says that the entire power of government of India is vested in the president. So he's the top body. There is nobody above him. So who can remove him? Like removal means you are a superior one. A superior one removes the inferior one. When you are the supreme most boss, who can remove you? You have to be snatched away from the position. That is impeachment. So the word impeachment is used only for president, and the majority used this. ये कैसे लिख लीजिए? Impeachment of president. Then you can write the majority used. Then impeachment of president. Within this you can write impeachment of president. Within this, right, the majority used is 2/3 of total strength. Is it clear to everyone? Okay. Next, we are still doing terminologies. Next, लिखिए constituent assembly terminologies में. Next is constituent assembly. Within constituent assembly, write down. It is the assembly. It is the assembly of the people's representative. It is the assembly of the people's representative, comma, specifically chosen. People's representative, comma, specifically chosen to enact the basic law of the land. To enact the basic law of the land. Done? Next, write down Gazette. Next is Gazette. Within Gazette, write down. It is the official paper. It is the official paper of Government of India. It is the official paper of the Government of India and the respective states and the Government of India and the respective states. Full stop. This paper is published. This paper is published to inform the people. This paper is published to inform the people about the actions of the government. Okay, so that the people can ensure the accountability so that the people can ensure the accountability. Full stop. With the in this there is a thing. अच्छा, please write down first bill. ऑनलाइन अवेलेबल होता है ना, आपको प्रिंटेड डेली ऑफ कोर्स हर दिन आपको अपडेट मिलेगा. पिब, प्रेस इंफॉर्मेशन ब्यूरो जो है, पिब कभी देखा? पिब का पोर्टल नहीं देखा? अच्छा, दैट इज अ गवर्नमेंट बॉडी दैट इज गिवन द पर्पस ऑफ पब्लिशिंग गवर्नमेंट पेपर. तो हर बार पब्लिश होता है, बट अब हाँ, पीआईबी जो है गवर्नमेंट की तो साइट है, उसका काम है ये सारा, वो पब्लिश करती है. प्रेस इंफॉर्मेशन ब्यूरो, दैट इज इट्स वर्क. तो इट्स इन्फॉर्म्स यू अबाउट एवरीथिंग कि क्या हो रहा है, क्या नहीं हो रहा है, क्या नहीं होना चाहिए, क्या होना चाहिए. एनीवे, सो बिल्स, then bills write down. It is a proposal. It is a proposal for the. It is a proposal for the act, ACT Act. Within bracket you can say right law. ACT. It is a proposal for the act within bracket law. Full stop. Once the bill is accepted. Once the bill is accepted by the legislature. Accepted by the legislature and duly passed, and duly, D-U-L-Y, and duly passed with the respective majorities, and duly passed with the respective majorities, comma, then it becomes an act. Then it becomes an act. Okay, full stop. In this, the word Gazette, have you ever seen the notification of UPSC? Official notification. देखा है आपने one? What is written at the top? अरे नहीं, उसको वो तो लिखा ही होता है, उसके अलावा भी कुछ लिखा होता है. कभी नहीं देखा? फर्स्ट हैंड नहीं देखी कभी? उसमें लिखा होता है गजेट ऑफ इंडिया विद इन ब्रैकेट एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी. एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी मतलब सम सुपरफिशियल वर्क्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. बिल्स वगैरह पे भी एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी लिखा होता है. सो इट्स एक ऑर्डिनरी में रेगुलर वर्क होता है, एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी में जो स्पेशल चीज आती है. सो गजेट ऑफ इंडिया एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी. So everything that is done is published in the Gazette of India. इसीलिए for example, anyone who is selected by UPSC becomes a gazetted officer. What do you understand by the word gazetted? Gazetted means the same thing. That anything that happens to you, your promotion, your transfer, your demotion, whatever will happen, will be published in Gazette. That's why you are called gazetted officers. We all know, there are how many branches? We have A category A, B, C, and D. In B, we have two categories, B gazetted and B non-gazetted. Officer rank start at this level. From B, the officer rank starts. The lowest one is B non-gazetted. Then B gazetted, A class officer are all gazetted, whether they are permanent or on contract. Do not think that the IAS officers are not on contract. Yes, they are also. The states have started this mechanism of recruiting A class officer on contract, 5-year contract term, the way private company does that. You are a class A officer, you will go through the same exam of prelims, mains, interview, but ultimately you will be given a contractual job of 5 years. You will enjoy all the luxury for 5 years. Then there will be evaluation. If the evaluation proves, then you will continue, otherwise termination. ठीक है? तो basically this is the logic. और गजट का मतलब समझ गए सब लोग? That you will be published.
So it is terminated by
Who?
Fulfill
Criteria, then you will be continue, otherwise terminated. Go home, enjoy. क्या? Pension, the way pension works today is NPS. वो पुरानी वाली गई, वो पापा वाली गई, अब तुम्हारी वाली अलग है. It's NPS. In this you have to contribute. 5 साल में आप कितना कंट्रीब्यूट कर लोगे? आपको मिल जाएंगे 200-300 रुपए हर दिन, हर महीने ले लो. The thing is, you have to cut a part of your salary, then only you get the pension. If you don't cut the part, you will not get the pension. वो पिताजी वाली गई पेंशन, ठीक है, वो अलग थी. एनीवे दिस ऑल थिंग्स आर क्लियर इसमें, ठीक है। बिल हो गया, लोकसभा राज्यसभा, क्या टाइम हो गया? अरे टाइम भी हो गया। चलो वी कैन नॉट स्टार्ट एनी न्यू टॉपिक। तो प्रीएम्बल का थोड़ा समझ लेते हैं। व्हाट इज प्रीएम्बल? व्हाट डू यू अंडरस्टैंड बाय प्रीएम्बल? Yes, now this is the right term. Introduction. Preamble is kind of preface or introduction. As you open a book, you get the preface. Same thing is preamble. It tells you what you're going to visit in the book. But preamble, we have to debate whether preamble is amendable or not, it is relevant or not. There are different cases we will. So we will start from next class, we will start proper polity. So far we were doing all terminologies to understand the polity itself. Okay? So with that note, we shall end the class and we will meet tomorrow again. 5:30 तक ही है ना क्लास? 5:45 से दूसरी है, हाँ ठीक है, ओके। With that note, have a nice day everyone. Happy learning. We will meet tomorrow. Yes, विथी बिल्कुल सही। काइंड ऑफ नहीं, जिस्ट नहीं होगा, दैट्स डिफरेंट। जिस्ट इज डिफरेंट। जिस्ट में यू आर पुटिंग समथिंग डिफरेंट। जिस्ट कहना प्रॉपर्ली ठीक नहीं होगा। इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ इंट्रोडक्शन अबाउट व्हाट यू विजिट। जिस्ट में आप सारे पॉइंट जो बॉडी में है वो लिखते हैं। इन जिस्ट यू राइट ऑल द पॉइंट्स इन द बॉडी। बट एनीवे, you got the essence, I believe. Any other question?